Every night, my wife went into our son's room. One day I set up a camera and saw things I never could have imagined. If you have ever felt like a stranger trapped in your own home, then you need to hear my story. Hit that like button and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Because what I'm about to tell you, well, it's a warning. My name is Julian Bishop. I'm 70 years old, and I am a prisoner. I'm not in a jail cell. I'm in my own living room, trapped in this squeaking, sterile hospital bed. The pain. That's the only thing that's real right now. It's not a dull ache. It's a hot, jagged piece of metal grinding against my bone right where the surgeon put in the new joint. I had a full hip replacement 3 days ago. Routine, the young doctor said, smiling. Easy for him to say. He's not the one lying here staring at the ceiling cracks at 3 in the morning, feeling his own skeleton scream. You can't be alone, Dad. That's what my son Patrick said. He's 40. A successful fund manager, always looks like he just stepped out of a magazine, always smells like expensive cologne. So they all moved in. Temporarily, they said. Patrick, his sharp, ambitious wife, Maya, and my wife of 45 years, Caroline. They're all here to take care of me. They set me up right in the middle of the living room. I feel like a piece of broken furniture they haven't decided where to store yet. Caroline, she's 68, has been almost too perfect. Julian, honey, time for your pills. Are you comfortable, dear? Do you need the bedpan? Her voice is high and sweet, but it's constant. She flutters around me, her kindness so thick it feels like I'm suffocating in it. The painkillers they give me just make the world foggy. They don't stop the fire in my hip. They just stop me from yelling about it. And the pain does one other thing. It keeps me awake. And when you're awake all night, when everyone else thinks you're asleep, you start to notice things. You hear things that aren't meant for you. It was 3 nights ago. 2:03 a.m., according to the glowing red numbers on the cable box. I was lying there, hip throbbing, when I heard it. The creak. I froze. It was the specific, high-pitched whine of our upstairs bedroom door. I've lived with that sound for 45 years. I know it better than I know my own heartbeat. My eyes strained in the darkness. The streetlights outside cast just enough gray light to see a shadow detach itself from the top of the stairs. It was Caroline. She was tiptoeing. I mean literally on the balls of her feet, one stair at a time, like a teenager sneaking out. My first thought was simple. She's going to the bathroom downstairs, or maybe getting a glass of water, trying not to wake me. But then she reached the bottom of the stairs, and she turned right. My breath caught in my chest. The kitchen and the downstairs bathroom were to the left. The right was, well, it was just the old den. The room where Patrick and Maya were sleeping. My heart started a slow, heavy pound. Why would she go in there at 2 in the morning? I watched her shadow stop right in front of their door. I saw her hand reach out, turn the knob with painful slowness. The door opened just enough for her to slip inside, and then it clicked shut, just as softly, and she was gone. I lay there, my mind racing. What the hell was that? Is Patrick sick? Did something happen to Maya? An emergency. I waited. I counted the ticks of the old grandfather clock in the hall. 1 minute. 5. 10. At 2:18 a.m., exactly 15 minutes later, the door handle turned again. The shadow slipped back out, closed the door just as carefully, and tiptoed back up the stairs. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. The next night I was waiting. The pain in my hip was a fiery monster, but my suspicion was sharper. I kept my eyes fixed on the staircase. 2:05 a.m. The creak, the shadow, the slow, deliberate steps down the stairs, the turn to the right, the silent opening of Patrick's door, the slip inside. My God. It wasn't an emergency. An emergency doesn't happen at the exact same time 2 nights in a row. This was something else. This was a routine. A secret. I strained my ears, holding my breath so hard my lungs burned. The house was dead quiet. And then I heard it. Whispers. I couldn't make out the words. It was too low, but it was definitely voices. A low murmur, Caroline's, and then a deeper, muffled response. Patrick's. They were in there in the dark, whispering. This time she stayed for 20 minutes. When she slipped out and went back upstairs, I was wide awake. Cold. Not from the air, but from something deep inside. Something was wrong in my house. Terribly wrong. And they were all treating me like I was just a piece of old, broken furniture, too doped up on painkillers to notice. I didn't sleep for the next 2 days. I couldn't. During the day, the house was a performance. Caroline was the perfect doting wife. More coffee, Julian. Let me fluff your pillows, dear. Maya, my daughter-in-law, was the dutiful helper, always smiling, always asking if I needed anything, her voice dripping with artificial sweetness. And Patrick was the golden boy. He'd sit by my bed for a few minutes before he went to work, which meant taking his laptop into the kitchen to make important calls. He'd pat my shoulder. "Attaboy, Dad. You're looking stronger. You'll be back on your feet in no time." They were all liars. I watched them, and I noticed something. Patrick. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Not directly. He'd look at my forehead or my chin or at the wall just over my shoulder. When I tried to lock eyes with him, he'd suddenly remember an important email he had to send. The act was good. It was too good. They were all trying too hard. The 5th night after my surgery, I was ready. The pain in my hip felt like a distant storm, but the knot in my gut was immediate, and it was cold. I'd taken my painkillers an hour early, hoping I'd be clear-headed. I needed to be. I watched the red numbers on the cable box flip. 2:06 a.m. And then right on cue. 2:07 a.m. Crack! The sound from the upstairs bedroom. The shadow detaching itself from the landing. Caroline. She moved down the stairs a little faster this time, a little less cautious. She was getting comfortable with this. She turned right, slipped into their room. The door clicked shut. I closed my eyes, focusing all my energy, every part of me, on listening. I listened past the throb in my hip, past the ticking clock, past the hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen. At first, nothing. Just silence. And then, a new sound. It wasn't whispering. It was a sniffle. A sharp intake of breath, like someone trying to hold back something. And then, a sob. It was quiet. Desperate. The sound of a man trying to cry, without making any noise. It was a choked, guttural sound, and it made my skin crawl. It was Patrick. I was sure of it. That was my son, a 40-year-old man, a vice president, a guy who drove a $60,000 car and talked about market volatility and leveraging assets. That man was in his bedroom in the dark at 2 a.m, sobbing like a lost child. And my wife was in there with him, whispering, "What chauffeured him?" This wasn't just weird. This wasn't just a secret. This was sick. Something was deeply, fundamentally broken. A man his age doesn't cry to his mommy in the middle of the night unless something is terribly wrong. What was going on in that room? What hold did she have over him? What were they hiding? I lay there, the blood turning to ice in my veins. The pain in my hip was gone, replaced by a cold, hard dread. I had to know. I didn't care what it took. I didn't care what I found. I was going to find out what was happening in my own house, under my own roof, right behind my back. The sun came up. I hadn't slept. Not 1 minute. My mind just kept replaying that awful, muffled sound. The sound of my 40-year-old son, my son sobbing in the dark. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, pretending to be drowsy. I watched the morning light slowly fill the living room. At 7:30, right on schedule, I heard Caroline in the kitchen. She was humming, like it was just another beautiful Tuesday. She came over to my hospital bed holding my favorite ceramic mug. "Here you are, Julian, honey," she chirped. Her voice was all sunshine and sweetness. She leaned over to hand me the mug, the steam rising from the black coffee. I didn't reach for it. I just looked her straight in the eye. My voice came out lower than I expected, gravelly. "What were you doing in Patrick's room at 2 o'clock this morning?" The reaction was instant. It wasn't just a flinch. She jumped like I'd poked her with a hot wire. The mug slipped from her grasp. Hot black coffee splashed everywhere, all over my arm, across the clean white blankets puddling on the hardwood floor. "God, Julian," she yelped, grabbing a box of tissues from the side table. "You scared the life out of me. Look at this mess." She was flustered, dabbing frantically at the stain on the blanket, her hands shaking. She was angry at me for the spill. "What an absurd question," she snapped, still scrubbing, refusing to look at me. I waited. I didn't say another word. The silence in the room got heavy, broken only by her sharp, panicked breathing and the dabbing of the tissues. Finally, she stopped. She looked up, forcing a laugh. It was a brittle, fake sound that didn't reach her eyes. "Oh, Julian, honey." She patted my good leg, the one that wasn't on fire. "You must have had a bad dream." "I wasn't dreaming," I said. My voice was flat. "It's been happening every night. Last night I heard him. He was crying." Caroline's smile froze. For just a fraction of a second, I saw it. A tiny crack in the mask. Pure, cold panic. But she was good. I'll give her that. She recovered instantly. She laughed again, louder this time, like I'd just told the most ridiculous joke. "Crying, Julian, honestly, you're starting to scare me. Patrick was fast asleep. Maya too. I think those new painkillers, they must be making you confused." She tapped the side of her head, her expression now one of patronizing concern. "You know hallucinations. It's a very common side effect, dear. Maybe I should call the doctor and have him adjust your dosage." And that was the moment. It wasn't the secret visit. It wasn't even the sound of my son crying. It was the lie. The smooth, easy, practiced way she dismissed me. The way she looked at me like I was a senile old fool. A confused patient who couldn't tell the difference between reality and a drug-induced dream. She thought I was stupid. She thought the pills had turned my brain to mush. She stood right there, smelling of soap and spilled coffee, and lied straight to my face. In that second, all the suspicion, all the cold dread from the night before, it didn't just stay. It caught fire. It crystallized into a hot, white rage that burned away all the pain in my hip. She was hiding something, and she thought I was too old and too sick to figure it out. She had no idea who she was dealing with. "You're hallucinating, dear." That's what she said to me. Hallucinating. Let me tell you something. That lie infuriated me more than the secret visits. Because it wasn't just a lie, it was an insult. It was her telling me that my mind was broken, that I was just a confused old man who couldn't be trusted. And let me tell you why I'm so angry. Let me tell you what I did just 2 weeks ago. The single, stupidest, most trusting, most idiotic thing I have ever done in my 70 years on this earth. I was sitting right here in this living room before the surgery. Patrick and Maya were here. They had spreadsheets and website printouts. They were talking about their dream house, a beautiful place over in the suburbs. White picket fence, big yard. "It's for the grandkids, Dad," Patrick said. "Grandkids I don't even have yet. We just can't get the mortgage right." Maya chimed in, her voice smooth as silk. "The interest rates. They're killers. We'd be house poor forever." I listened. I looked at my only son. I thought about my legacy. What was I working for all these years? So I did it. I called my financial advisor. I cashed out everything. My entire 401k, My pension fund, everything. $850,000. That's 4 or 5 years of my life. 45 years of getting up in the dark, of supervising construction crews in the freezing cold and the blistering heat. 45 years of sweat, of back-breaking work, of saving every single dime I could. My entire life's work. I wrote a cashier's check to my son Patrick Bishop for $850,000. No mortgage, son, I told him. You buy it outright. You start fresh. I gave them my entire future. And now that my money is in their account, my wife is sneaking into my son's room every single night at 2 a.m. My son is sobbing in the dark, and both of them, are standing right here in my living room, lying to my face, telling me I'm the one who's confused. They think I'm a fool. They think I'm just a senile old man with a new hip and a broken brain. They're about to find out how wrong they are. My rage was a quiet, cold thing. It was better than the painkillers. It focused my mind. For the next 2 days, I became the perfect patient. I stopped asking questions. When Caroline brought me my coffee, I smiled and said, "Thank you, dear." When Maya asked if I needed my pillows fluffed, I nodded gratefully. And I started sleeping a lot more. It's amazing what you can hear when people think you're unconscious. I'd let my head loll to the side, let my breathing go deep and rhythmic, even let out a little snore now and then. The living room was the center of the house. They had to walk past me. They made their calls right there, just feet from my bed, their voices hushed but confident. They thought I was just a lump of old flesh, half-drugged and fading. They had no idea I was a hunter, and I was listening. It was Thursday afternoon. Caroline had gone out to pick up my prescriptions. Patrick was upstairs resting. Maya was in the living room, pacing back and forth by the window, talking on her phone. I was asleep. My eyes were closed, my breathing was steady. "I'm telling you, it's perfect," she whispered into her phone. I recognized the voice she was using. It was the same silken, sharp voice she used with Patrick. This was Maya, the real Maya. She laughed, a low, sharp sound. "He's completely out of it. The pills have him half dead to the world. He just lies there, Julian. He has no idea what's going on." My fingers tightened on the bed railing. Keep pretending. Keep sleeping. Caroline is handling Patrick. Maya continued, and her voice dripped with contempt. She's got her own way of keeping him in line. It's pathetic, but it's working. There was a pause. I could hear the faint sound of the person on the other end, but I couldn't make out the words. "Look, I don't care about their weird little thing," Maya snapped. "I care about the timeline. The lawyer said the papers are ready. We just need the old man to sign the power of attorney." My heart stopped. Power of attorney. My mind, sharp and clear from the adrenaline, flipped through every conversation I'd had in the last 2 weeks. The house, the check, the $850,000. Not once had anyone mentioned a power of attorney. You don't need a power of attorney to buy a house with a cashier's check. Maya was pacing closer to my bed. "Yes, next week," she whispered. "Probably Friday. Caroline will tell him it's just final paperwork for the house. He'll sign. He trusts her." She let out a small, triumphant laugh. "And as soon as he signs that, we have everything." Everything? What did everything mean? I gave them the $850K. What more was there? "No, you're not listening," Maya said, her voice impatient. "The $850,000 was just the first step. The power of attorney. That gives us access. The trust. The other accounts. This house, everything. He'll be completely under our control. He's just a clueless old man. He'll sign anything she puts in front of him." A cold, bottomless pit opened in my stomach. This wasn't about a dream house. This wasn't about avoiding mortgage interest. This was a hostile takeover. They weren't just taking the money I gave them. They were planning to take everything else. My entire estate. my autonomy, my life. The $850,000. That was just the bait to get them into the house. The hip surgery. That was just the opportunity. And I was the target. Maya hung up the phone. I heard her sigh a long, satisfied sound. I heard her walk into the kitchen, the clink of a glass as she poured herself a drink. I lay there frozen, not by the pills, but by pure, cold terror. They were going to strip me of every last cent I had. They were going to leave me with nothing, trapped in this bed, legally powerless, while they drained my life's work. And Caroline, my wife, she wasn't just sneaking into Patrick's room to comfort him. She was in on it. She was the key. She was the one who was going to hand me the pen. I needed proof. Hearing it was one thing, but I needed to see it. I needed to see what they were doing in that room. I needed to see what was really going on. My mind raced. I was trapped in this bed. I couldn't follow them. I couldn't peek through the keyhole. I was blind. Unless I could get eyes in that room. I waited for the right moment. It came the next morning. Maya had taken Patrick out to get some air. It was just me and Carolyn. The house was quiet, filled with morning sunlight. She was changing the water in a vase of flowers. They'd brought me flowers that now seemed like a funeral arrangement. I cleared my throat, putting on my best, confused old man voice, the one she wanted to see. "Caroline, honey." I started trying to sound weak. I think my mind is a little foggy from these pills. I thought I heard Maya on the phone yesterday. Did she say something about a lawyer? Something about papers? I watched her back. She didn't stiffen. She didn't drop the vase. She just paused for a beat. Then she turned around, a bright, patient smile plastered on her face. The kind of smile you'd give a child who just asked a silly question. "Oh, Julian," she sighed, walking over to pat my hand. "You are in a fog, aren't you, poor thing? It's not papers. It's just paperwork." "Paperwork?" I asked, playing dumb. "Yes, just boring bank stuff, honey. You know how these things are." She sat on the edge of the chair near my bed, her voice dropping into that confidential, let-me-handle-it tone she'd used for 45 years. "It's just for the house closing. With that big, lovely check you gave Patrick, the bank just needs an authorization, so he can sign the final documents for you." "An authorization?" "Yes, what did the lawyer call it? A power of attorney. Just a simple form. It just means Patrick can go to the bank and sign the final closing papers for you. Think about it, Julian." She leaned in, her eyes wide with fake sincerity. "Do you really want to drag yourself out of this bed with that hip and sit in a stuffy bank office for 3 hours? Of course not. Patrick is happy to do it for you. It's just a standard form. We'll bring it to you on Friday. You sign it right here in bed and it's all done. Easy." She smiled. "It's just us taking care of you, honey, letting you rest and heal." A standard form. My blood didn't just run cold, it froze solid. I have run a $70 million construction business. I have signed contracts that build skyscrapers. I know exactly what a power of attorney is. It is not a standard form. It is a weapon. It is a key. It's the legal document that gives one person complete control over another person's entire financial life. And she had just lied about it as easily as she breathed. She was the ringleader. This wasn't just Maya's greed or Patrick's weakness. This was Caroline, my wife. Calmly, systematically, and with a sweet smile on her face, planning to strip me of everything I owned. I looked at her, at this woman I had slept next to for almost half a century, and I realized with a clarity that cut right through the painkillers that I was completely and utterly alone. They were all in on it. I smiled back at her, a weak, tired smile. "Oh, okay, honey. That makes sense. Thank you for handling everything. You're right. I'm just so tired." "Of course you are, dear," she said, patting my hand again. "You just rest. We'll take care of everything." I closed my eyes and she tiptoed out of the room, leaving me alone with the truth. I couldn't trust anyone. I was surrounded by enemies who were pretending to be my family. And I knew right then that I had to act. I was trapped in this bed, but I wasn't dead. If I was going to fight back, I couldn't do it with my body. I had to do it with my mind. And I needed eyes. I needed to see exactly what was happening in that room. This body, this hip, it was their prison for me. They thought I was stuck. They thought that because I couldn't walk, I couldn't act. They forgot that a construction boss, even a retired one, knows how to solve a problem. And this was a problem of logistics. I was immobile, but my mind was working just fine. I couldn't be their eyes, so I would have to buy eyes. I waited. The clueless old man they laughed about, this senile old fool. Well, this old fool built a multi-million-dollar company from blueprints and dirt, and he damn well knows how to use Amazon Prime. My chance came on Friday afternoon. "Julian, honey, we're all going out," Caroline chirped, her voice sickeningly sweet. "We need to pick up the groceries for your special diet this weekend." It was perfect. A lie, all of it, but a perfect opportunity. Maya chimed in, "And Patrick needs to stop by the bank to, check on that paperwork for you." They were all leaving, together. They thought I'd be here helpless napping. That's wonderful," I mumbled, letting my eyelids droop. "Thank you for taking such good care of me." The front door clicked shut. I heard their car start, the crunch of tires on the gravel driveway. I counted to 60. Then I moved. I threw the blankets off. The pain was immediate, a white-hot explosion in my hip. I bit down on my own hand to stop from screaming. I grabbed the handles of the hospital bed railing and hauled my 70-year-old post-op body upright. My walker was just out of reach. I lunged for it, my teeth grinding together. I got it. My den. My real office was at the other end of the house. This was my living room. It felt like a mile away. Thump, shuffle, groan. I pushed the walker. Thump, shuffle, groan. Every step sent a shockwave of agony up my spine. But the rage was a better fuel than morphine. The image of Caroline's lying face, of Maya's greedy whispers, it was all I needed. I reached my desk. I collapsed into my leather chair, panting, sweat pouring down my face. I booted up the computer. My fingers shaking, typed "spy camera" into the search bar. No, too obvious. Nanny cam. There. Hundreds of them. I found the one I needed. It looked exactly like a black USB phone charger. The kind every kid has plugged into their wall. It was perfect. Wi-Fi enabled. HD video. Night vision. I clicked. 1-day shipping. I paid the extra $25. It would be here tomorrow. Saturday. Getting back to the hospital bed was even worse. I almost didn't make it. I fell back onto the mattress, my hips screaming, just as I heard their car pull back into the driveway. I pulled the blankets up, my heart hammering, and forced my breathing to slow down, just as they walked in, their arms full of grocery bags, their faces full of fake concern. The next day, Saturday, was agony. Not just the hip, the waiting. The doorbell rang at 11 a.m. "I'll get it," Maya called out. My heart was in my throat. She walked into the living room holding the small brown Amazon box. "It's for you, Julian." "What's this?" Her voice was light, but her eyes were sharp, suspicious. I forced a weak cough. Thank God. It's my special cream. From Germany. For the incision. The doctor said it would speed up healing." She looked at the box, then at me. I could see her calculating, but the lie was just plausible enough. She shrugged and put it on my side table right next to my bedpan. "Well, I hope it works." Now for part 2, getting it in their room. I waited until 3 p.m. I pressed the call button for Caroline. "So, yes, dear." I put on my most pathetic, pain-filled grimace. "Caroline, The pills, they're not working. The pain, it's too much. The doctor said. He said I could take the other prescription, the stronger one. But you have to pick it up. The one at CVS. Right now, she asked, annoyed. Please, I gasped, clutching my hip. It's really bad, she sighed. Fine, I'll go. Maya Patrick, I need you to watch him. No, I said a little too loud. I softened my voice. Please, honey, just go. I just want to be quiet. I'll just sleep until you get back. Please, no hovering. She looked at me, then nodded. All right, I'll be back in 30 minutes. The front door closed. This was it. No second chances. I grabbed the box, tore it open with my teeth. The little black cube. Perfect. Thump, shuffle, groan. I pushed the walker, my hip on fire, out of the living room, down the short hall to the den. I pushed the door open. The room smelled like them. Maya's perfume, Patrick's cologne. The TV was on the dresser right across from their bed. I hobbled over. Behind it, a power strip. Thank God. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold the little cube. I shoved it into the socket. A tiny blue light blinked on, then vanished. It was active, but the angle was wrong. It was pointing at the ceiling. I needed to aim it. I looked around. My eyes landed on an old paperback book Patrick had left on the dresser. I grabbed it, ripped out a wad of pages, and folded it. I unplugged the charger, jammed the wad of paper behind it, and plugged it back in. Tilting it, angling it, down, pointing it right at the goddamn bed and the chair next to it. It was perfect. I heard a car door slam outside. She was back. My blood ran cold. I didn't have time to be careful. I abandoned the walker, grabbed the door frame, and half-dragged, half-fell my way back into the living room. Every movement a fresh stab of agony. I scrambled into the hospital bed, pulling the covers up just as the front door opened. Caroline walked in, holding a white paper bag. They said it'll be another hour, Julian. The pharmacy is... She stopped. She stared at me. I was drenched in sweat. My face was pale as a ghost, and I was breathing like I'd just run a marathon. Julian, are you all right? She asked, her voice sharp with suspicion. You look terrible. I let out a long theatrical groan. The pain, Caroline, it's... Just get me some water, please. She watched me for a long second, her eyes narrow. Then she turned and went to the kitchen. I sank back into the pillows, my body screaming, my heart pounding. But I was smiling. I had my eyes. Now all I had to do was wait for 2 a.m. That night I didn't sleep. I don't think I even blinked. I just lay there staring at the dark. The house was a tomb. The only sound was the grandfather clock in the hall, ticking, 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 counting down. My hip was a dull background roar, but I barely noticed. My heart was pounding a slow, heavy rhythm against my ribs. I had the iPad hidden under the covers, clutched in my hand. My thumb was resting on the on button, the glass cold against my skin. I watched the red numbers on the cable box flip. 1:55 a.m. 1:59. Come on. Come on. My mouth was dry. What if she didn't come tonight? What if they suspected? No. They thought I was a confused, drugged-up old man. They were confident. 2:10 a.m. And then I heard it. The faint, familiar creak from the bedroom upstairs. Showtime. My fingers were shaking. Under the blanket, I pressed the power button. The screen lit up, casting a ghostly glow on my face. I squinted, jamming my thumb on the brightness control, turning it all the way down. I fumbled for the app icon. The little blue eye. Connecting. The little wheel spun. For one agonizing second, I thought it had failed. I thought the Wi-Fi was too weak. Then the screen flickered, and I was in. The picture was grainy, but it was clear. The angle I'd set, it was perfect. The camera's night vision cast a ghostly green-black glow over the entire room. I could see their unmade bed, the dresser, the chair next to it. I didn't have to wait. As soon as the image stabilized, I saw the doorknob on the far side of the screen turn. Slowly, silently. The door opened, and Caroline slipped in. She was just a dark shape in her nightgown, but I knew it was her. She closed the door behind her with a soft, final click. I held my breath. I expected to see Patrick asleep in the bed. I expected Caroline to, I don't know, rifle through his drawers, look for something. But Patrick wasn't in the bed. He was standing. He was standing by the window, his back to the door. And he wasn't sleeping. He was vibrating. He was pacing. No, not pacing. He was prowling. 3 steps turn, 3 steps turn. He was wearing just a t-shirt and boxers. His hair was matted to his forehead. It was dark with sweat. Even in the blurry night vision, I could see it. He was trembling. His hands were clenched into white-knuckled fists at his sides, shaking. He looked sick. He looked like a cornered animal. My son, my golden boy, my 40-year-old vice president. He looked like a goddamn addict. Caroline just stood there by the door, a still dark shadow, watching him pace. She didn't seem surprised. She didn't seem scared. She seemed to expect it. I watched my breath frozen in my lungs. I was paralyzed. Patrick didn't just take the bag. He snatched it. His hand darted out like a snake, his fingers closing around that tiny piece of plastic like it was a lifeline. Like it was air and he was drowning. "Thank you, thank you, thank you," he was muttering, his voice thick with tears and saliva. He scrambled away from her, crawling back to the chair, huddling over the bag. His back was to the camera, but I could see his shoulders shaking. I saw him lower his head. I saw his hand move to his face. I saw him use it, right there, inhaling it, snorting the poison his own mother had just delivered. My stomach heaved. I clamped my hand over my mouth, bile rising in my throat. I was going to be sick right there in the hospital bed. I was watching my son. My son. On the screen, Patrick's body went rigid. He let out a long, shuddering sigh that sounded like the air being released from a punctured tire. And then, he went still. The shaking stopped. The violent, uncontrollable tremors that had been racking his body, they just stopped. He slowly sat up in the chair. He wiped his nose on the sleeve of his t-shirt. He scrubbed his hands over his face. When he dropped them, he was a different person. The wild animal was gone. The desperate, cornered man had vanished. He was just calm. His eyes were heavy. His body was relaxed. He looked up, not at the camera, but at his mother. "You're a lifesaver, Mom," he said. His voice was no longer high and cracked. It was low, slurred, and heavy. "I know," Carolyn said. Her voice was still like ice. "And you know what you have to do to keep getting this, don't you?" Patrick nodded his head, lolling slightly. Yeah, I know. Friday. The papers. The old man." "Good," she said. She watched him for another long second, her face unreadable. "Now, go to sleep. You look like hell." She turned, walked to the door, opened it, and slipped out as easily as if she'd just delivered a glass of milk. I stared at the screen. At my son, who was now slumping in the chair, a faint, stupid smile on his face, his eyes half closed. My God. It wasn't just a plan. It was leverage. This wasn't an affair. This wasn't, I don't know, them plotting to put me in a home. This was heroin, or cocaine, or fentanyl. It was drugs, my wife, Caroline, the woman who ran the church bake sale, the woman who organized the neighborhood watch committee. She wasn't just giving my son drugs. She was his supplier. She was dealing to our son. She was feeding his addiction, using this horrible gut-wrenching sickness to control him, to blackmail him, to turn him into her willing accomplice to steal every last penny I had on this earth. I felt the bile rise in my throat. I was going to be sick. The woman I had married, the woman I had spent my life with, she was a monster. She was a goddamn monster. I stared at the iPad, my hand shaking so hard the image blurred. I wanted to throw up. I wanted to scream. I wanted to rip the wires out of this hospital bed, crawl across the floor and do something. But I didn't. I just watched. On the screen, my son Patrick was now calm. The desperate animal-like tremor was gone, replaced by a heavy-lidded, almost stupid calm. He was slumped in the chair, the faint, dopey smile I'd seen earlier plastered on his face. Caroline watched him. Her face was a mask of cold satisfaction. "Better now?" she asked. "Yeah," Patrick slurred. "Yeah, much better. You're a lifesaver, Mom." "I know," she said. Her voice was flat, all business. "And you know what you have to do to keep getting this, don't you?" Patrick nodded his head, lolling slightly on his shoulders. Yeah, I know. Friday. The papers. The old man." "That's right," Caroline said. She pulled the other chair closer, sitting down, leaning in. This was no longer a rescue mission. This was a business meeting. "It's not just the papers, Patrick. You need to understand exactly what's happening so you don't mess this up. Your father, Julian, he signed that $850,000 check." "I know," Patrick said, his voice thick. "He thinks that money is sitting in your checking account waiting for the house. It's not." My blood turned to ice. "My lawyer, Mr. Evans, he already helped you and Maya set up the irrevocable trust," Caroline whispered. "The $850,000 is already in it. It's already gone. Your father can't touch it. It's ours." I didn't know that. I thought, but what about the power of attorney then?" Patrick asked. He sounded confused. If we already have the money, why do we need him to sign the thing?" Caroline let out a sigh, the sound of a patient teacher explaining simple math to a very slow child. "The $850K is the bait, Patrick. It's the start. It's not the prize. The prize is everything else." She leaned in closer, and her voice dropped so low I could barely hear it. "The power of attorney gives me, control. It gives me his brokerage account. It gives me his other bank accounts. It gives me this house. It gives me the legal authority to move all of it, into the new trust." But he'll notice," Patrick mumbled. He's not stupid. He'll see the money is gone." And then I heard it. The line I had heard Maya whisper, but this time it came from my wife. Caroline laughed, a short, sharp, ugly sound that cut me to the bone. "Notice Patrick, look at him. He's a clueless old man," she said. "Clueless. Old. Man. He's half dead on painkillers," she continued. "He's weak. He's confused. He's already hallucinating. Remember this morning when he thought I was in here? It's perfect. By the time he's clear-headed enough to notice anything, I will have every single penny. And if he does make a fuss, if he tries to fight it..." She paused. She reached out and patted Patrick's cheek, a gesture that looked almost tender, but was full of menace. "Then he's just a confused, senile old man who's angry we're protecting his assets. He signed the papers. Who is a court going to believe a a patient who's been on high-dose opioids for a month, or his loving, devoted wife and son who have legal control. This was the plan. This was the full, ugly, rotten core of it. They weren't just stealing from me. They were going to bury me. They were going to steal my money, my house, my sanity, and my name. They were going to paint me as a lunatic, a senile old fool who couldn't be trusted, all while my wife, kept my son chained to her with a bag of white powder. Patrick just nodded, his eyes closing. The drugs were pulling him under. "Okay, Mom," he slurred. "Okay. You're so smart. You take care of it." "I always do, Patrick," she whispered. "I always do." She stood up. She looked at him slumped in the chair. A look of, I don't know, disgust, pity. It passed in a second. She turned, walked to the door, opened it, and slipped out. I sat there in the dark, my iPad clutched in my hand, the screen now black. I was 70 years old. I had just lost my son. I had just lost my wife. I was about to lose everything I had ever worked for. I had never in my entire life felt so completely and utterly alone. But that loneliness, it didn't last. It burned away. And in its place, something else took root. Something cold and hard and sharp. They thought I was a clueless old man. They thought I was weak. They thought the fight was already over. I was a construction boss. I'd spent my life dealing with liars, with cheats, with contractors who tried to cut corners. This was just the biggest con of my life, and I'll be damned if I let them win. I turned off the iPad. The screen went black, but the image was burned onto the back of my eyes. The ghostly green image of my son, slumped and smiling. The shadow of my wife standing over him like a vulture. I wanted to scream. I wanted to roar. I wanted to rip this IV out of my arm and tear that door off its hinges. My whole body was shaking, not with weakness, with a rage so pure and so hot it scared me. It was a chemical fire in my veins, burning away the fog of the painkillers, the weakness of the surgery. She was killing him. That was the thought that kept circling. She wasn't helping him. She wasn't comforting him. She was killing him. She was feeding him poison, measuring it out, keeping him just sick enough, just desperate enough to be her puppet, to steal from me. Clueless old man. The words echoed in my head, but now in Caroline's voice. Maya had said it, and now Caroline had confirmed it. That's what I was to them, not a husband, not a father, just a thing, a bank vault with a faulty lock, an old confused obstacle to be managed, drugged, and discarded. 45 years. 45 years I had worked. I had provided, I had loved that woman. I had looked at that boy, my boy, and felt pride. And it was all. What a lie. A 45-year con. The pain in my hip was nothing. This was the real pain. It was a hollow, cold, gaping wound right in the center of my chest. I lay there in the dark, my hand clamped over my mouth, and I did something I hadn't done since my own mother died. I cried. Silent, hot, angry tears that ran down my temples and into my ears. But the crying only lasted a minute. Because right behind the grief, right behind the shock, was that cold, hard thing. That new thing, resolve. They thought I was weak. They thought I was finished. They thought the fight was already over. But I had something they didn't know about. I had the little black cube plugged into the wall. I had the recording. A part of me wanted to stop, to delete the video, to pretend I'd never seen it, to just let them take the money and go, but another part, the part of me that had built a company from nothing, the part of me that had faced down union bosses and crooked inspectors, that part of me said one thing. Don't stop now. This isn't enough. You have the what. You have the how. But you don't have the why. Not all of it. I needed to know the whole truth. every last rotten piece of it. And I needed more evidence. I needed to let them walk right into the trap. I wiped my face on the hospital blanket. I took a long, shuddering breath. I picked up the iPad, my hand steady now. I would keep recording. I would keep pretending. I would be the most confused, clueless, senile old man they had ever seen. Until Friday. On Friday, this old man was going to bite back. I kept the video feed live. My hand was shaking, but I didn't dare turn it off. I had to see this thing, through to the end. On the iPad screen, Patrick's body, which had been vibrating with that horrible, sick energy, went still. He was slumped in the chair, his breathing suddenly deep and even. The desperate, animal-like tremor was gone. It was just gone. Replaced by a thick, heavy, unnatural calm. He was still, his eyes half closed, a faint, stupid, slack-jawed smile on his lips. Caroline didn't move. She just stood over him, a silent shadow watching him. Her arms were crossed. She wasn't a mother. She was a zookeeper, checking to make sure the tranquilizer dart had done its work. She was waiting. After a long, terrible silence, a full minute, where the only sound was the hum of the air conditioner, Patrick's head rolled on his shoulders. He looked up at her, his eyes heavy-lidded, unfocused. Maya's getting nervous, he slurred. The words were thick, running together like his tongue was too big for his mouth. She keeps asking about Friday. She says the old man, he has to sign the papers on Friday. Caroline's face didn't change. She didn't smile. She didn't frown. She just nodded slowly, as if he were discussing a grocery list. Maya needs to learn some patience, she said. Her voice was a low, cold whisper, but it cut through the silence. Her nervousness is a liability, but she's right. Friday is the day. You just have to hold it together, Patrick. Just 2 more days. Can you do that? Can you stop this? She gestured to his slumped form with disgust, and be a big boy for 2 more days. Yeah, he mumbled, his eyes fluttering. Yeah, Mom, I can do it. I feel good now. What happens Friday? What's the plan again? The plan? Caroline said, pulling the other chair from the desk and sitting down right in front of him, is simple. I will take the papers to your father, right there in his bed. He'll be in pain. He'll be foggy from the pills. He'll be weak. And I will tell him it's just bank forms for the house. And he will sign them. He will sign the power of attorney. She leaned in, and I felt a chill run right through my shattered hip, a cold that had nothing to do with the night air. The second he signs, she continued, the second that ink is dry, my lawyer, Mr. Evans, will take that document, and he will transfer everything. Patrick frowned, his drugged brain trying to keep up. Transfer? What I thought we already got the $850,000. Caroline let out a long, slow sigh. It was the sound of a patient teacher explaining something to a child, a very, very slow child. Patrick, she said, her voice sharp with contempt. We have the $850,000. That money is already in the irrevocable trust. It's gone. It's ours. He can't touch it. I made sure of that with Mr. Evans when your father was in surgery. That money was moved the second his anesthesia kicked in. My God, it was already gone. They'd done it during the surgery, while I was unconscious. Then why? Patrick asked, his voice a confused mumble. Why the papers? If we have the cash, why the power thing? Why does Maya care? Because Maya is greedy, Caroline snapped. But for once her greed is useful. Patrick, use your head. The $850K is bait. It's the start. It's not the prize. The prize is everything else. She leaned in even closer, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper that the camera's microphone barely caught. The power of attorney gives me control. It gives me his brokerage account. It gives me his other bank accounts, his stocks, his bonds. It gives me this house. It gives me the legal authority to move all of it, into the new trust, where he can never ever find it. Do you understand? By the time he's well enough to even think about checking his statements, there will be nothing left. A zero balance. Everywhere. Patrick was quiet for a long time. Even in his drug-induced haze, the sheer scale of what she was saying seemed to be sinking in. But he'll notice, Patrick mumbled, shaking his head. He's not stupid. He'll see the money is gone. He'll call the bank. He'll call the cops. And then I heard it. Carolyn laughed. It wasn't a happy sound. It wasn't a sound of joy. It was a short, sharp, ugly burst of air. It was the most terrible sound I had ever heard in my 70 years. "Oh, Patrick," she said, and her voice was filled with a cold, sharp poison that I had never heard before. "He won't notice anything. And do you know why? Because he's a clueless old man." Clueless. Old. Man. My hand tightened on the iPad. "He's half dead on painkillers," she continued, her voice a cruel purr. "He's weak. He's confused. He's already hallucinating. Remember this morning when he thought I was in here, when he heard you crying? It's perfect. He's already proving our case for us." Our case? Yes," she said. Her voice was pure ice. "Our case. The one that says he is mentally incompetent. He's seeing things. He's hearing things. He's confused. He's in constant pain, and he's on heavy narcotics. He is in no condition to manage his own affairs. He is a danger to himself." My blood stopped. This was beyond theft. This was a murder of my mind. "So," Patrick was slurring, trying to follow her logic. "So, we take the money, and we say he's crazy." "Exactly," Caroline said. She reached out and patted his cheek, a gesture that looked almost tender, but was filled with menace. "It's the perfect plan. By the time he's clear-headed enough to notice anything, I will have every single penny. And if he does make a fuss, if he tries to fight it, who is a court going to believe? A patient who's been on high-dose opioids for a month. A confused old man who hears things in the night." She smiled, and the night vision camera caught the horrible, empty expression in her eyes. "Or will they believe his loving, devoted wife and his loyal, caring son, who have legal control and are just trying to protect his assets from his own failing mind?" She stood up, her shadow looming over him. "This is the plan, Patrick. It's the only plan. We get rich, and your father, he gets the care he deserves. He'll be comfortable, but he'll be quiet, and he'll be powerless." Patrick just nodded, his eyes closing. The drugs were pulling him under. "Okay, Mom," he slurred. "Okay. You're so smart. You take care of it. I'm tired." "I always do, Patrick," she whispered. "I always do. Now go to sleep. You look like hell." She turned, walked to the door, opened it, and slipped out, closing it with a soft, final click. I sat there in the dark, my iPad clutched in my hand, the screen now showing only my slumped, unconscious son. They were going to bury me. They were going to steal my money, my house, my sanity, and my name. They were going to paint me as a lunatic, a senile old fool who couldn't be trusted, all while my wife, kept my son chained to her with a bag of white powder. They thought I was a clueless old man. They thought I was weak. They thought the fight was already over. I was a construction boss. I'd spent my life dealing with liars, with cheats, with contractors who tried to cut corners. This was just the biggest con of my life, and I'll be damned if I let them win. Our case, Patrick slurred, his brain slowly catching up. The case that says he's crazy. Exactly, Caroline said. Her voice was pure ice. The case that says he is mentally incompetent. He's seeing things. He's hearing things. He's confused. He's in constant pain, and he's on heavy narcotics. He is in no condition to manage his own affairs. He is a danger to himself. My blood stopped. This was beyond theft. This was a murder of my mind. So, she continued, by the time he's clear-headed enough to notice anything, I will have every single penny. And if he does make a fuss, if he tries to fight it. She reached out and patted Patrick's cheek, a gesture that looked almost tender, but was filled with menace. Who is a court going to believe a patient who's been on high-dose opioids for a month? A confused old man who hears things in the night. She smiled, and the night vision camera caught the horrible, empty expression in her eyes. Or will they believe his loving, devoted wife and his loyal, caring son who have legal control and are just trying to protect his assets from his own failing mind? She stood up, her shadow looming over him. This is the plan, Patrick. It's the only plan. We get rich. And your father, he gets the care he deserves. He'll be comfortable, but he'll be quiet, and he'll be powerless. He signed the papers. He's just a clueless old man who gave everything to his loving son. It's a sad story, but it's a believable one. Patrick just nodded, his eyes closing. The drugs were pulling him under. Okay, Mom, he slurred. Okay. You're so smart. You take care of it. I'm tired. I always do, Patrick, she whispered. I always do. Now go to sleep. You look like hell. She turned, walked to the door, opened it, and slipped out, closing it with a soft, final click. I sat there in the dark, my iPad clutched in my hand, the screen now showing only my slumped, unconscious son. The whole picture. It clicked into place. All the pieces. The $850,000. It was never for a house. The house was a lie. A ghost. A story to tell the old man to get him to open the vault. My hip surgery. It wasn't a setback for them. It was their opportunity. It was the event that put me in this bed, that put me on these drugs, that made me vulnerable. The move-in, the care, the sweet voices, the constant check-ins, the fluffing of my pillows. It was all an act. It wasn't care. It was surveillance. It was them making sure the poison was working, making sure I was weak, making sure I was ready for the slaughter. And Patrick, my son. He wasn't just a greedy accomplice. He was a victim too. He was a puppet, chained to my wife, to his mother, by a sickness she was actively feeding. She wasn't helping him. She was using his addiction. She was his dealer, keeping him just sick enough, just desperate enough to do exactly what she wanted, to cry on cue, to lie on cue, to help her destroy his own father. The $850,000 was gone. The new plan was to take everything else. And Plan B was to destroy my mind, to tell the world I was insane, to lock me away inside my own life. It was all a lie. The whole thing. My loving wife, my successful son, my happy retirement. It was all a goddamn lie. I didn't sleep. The rest of the night, I just stared at the ceiling. The rage kept me warm. It kept me sharp. The clueless old man was gone. The confused patient was gone. The man lying in this hospital bed was Julian Bishop, the man who built a $70 million company out of mud and rebar, and he was wide awake. The sun came up. The house started to stir. I heard the shower upstairs. I heard the clink of coffee cups in the kitchen. I heard her. Caroline. She was humming like it was just another beautiful Saturday morning. They thought I was asleep. They always let me sleep in. They thought the old man was knocked out by his pills. At exactly 7 a.m., I heard Caroline tell Maya she was going upstairs to take a shower. I heard Maya turn on the TV in the kitchen. This was my window. My cell phone was on the nightstand right next to the glass of water they left for me. My hand shot out, grabbed it, and pulled it under the covers. My fingers were steady. I hit 1 on my speed dial. It rang once. "Yeah," a gruff voice answered. "No hello, that's why I hired him 30 years ago. Tony Petrocelli." "Tony," I whispered, my mouth close to the phone. "It's Julian." "Julian, what's wrong? You sound—" "Code red, Tony," I said. The line went dead silent. Code red was our old signal, from the business days. It meant everything had gone to hell. It meant stop whatever you are doing, drop the coffee, walk out of the meeting. It meant someone was trying to steal the company. It meant a lawsuit was dropping. It meant asset protection. It meant war. "Where are you?" Petrocelli's voice was different now. It was the lawyer. "I'm at my house. I'm trapped. I need you here. Now." "On my way," he said. "Don't say another word to anyone." The line clicked dead. I put the phone back, and I waited. It was the longest hour of my life. I lay there pretending to sleep, my body rigid. I could hear Maya on the phone in the kitchen laughing about some brunch plan. I heard Caroline come downstairs, humming again, her footsteps light. She was happy. She was just a few days away from being a very, very rich widow in every way but one. At 8:05 a.m., the doorbell rang. I heard Caroline's light footsteps. "Who on earth?" She opened the front door. "Tony." Her voice was a symphony of fake surprise. What are you doing here on a Saturday?" "Caroline?" I heard Petrocelli's voice rumble. He's a big man, built like a brick wall, always in a 3-piece suit, even on a weekend. "I was in the neighborhood. Just wanted to see how my old partner was holding up. Heard he had the surgery. Won't be a minute." "Oh," Caroline said. She couldn't say no. "He was my oldest friend. He was my lawyer." "Of course, come in. He's resting. He's very confused, you know, the pills." "I know how it is, bon," Petrocelli said, walking in. I saw him. His face was a mask of polite concern, but his eyes were scanning, looking at me, looking at the setup. "Tony," I said, my voice weak, is that you?" "Hey, Julian," he said, walking over. "Just came to see the wounded soldier." "Tony, I need to use the bathroom," I said, my voice cracking with fake pain. And this hip, I can't. Can you help me, Caroline? You rest. Let Tony help me." Caroline's eyes narrowed, just for a second. She didn't like this. She didn't like anything she couldn't control. But what could she say? "Of course," Julian, Petrocelli said, all concern. He moved the walker over. "Let's get you up, old friend." He helped me out of the bed. The pain was real, a white-hot spike, but I barely felt it. I leaned on him. He was solid rock. We hobbled step by painful step into the downstairs bathroom. The one I knew had a lock. I got inside. He followed. I pointed at the door. He locked it. I pointed at the ventilation fan. He turned it on. The roar of the fan filled the tiny room. We were alone. Secure. "What is it, Julian?" he said, his voice low. "What's code red?" I didn't say anything. I just reached into the pocket of the robe he had helped me put on. I pulled out the iPad. His eyebrows shot up. What's this? You're not here about my hip, I said. My voice was no longer weak. It was cold. You're here for this. I need you to watch. You need to watch all of it. I hit play. I showed him the file from last night. Tony Petrocelli is a 60-year-old man. He's the toughest divorce and corporate lawyer in the state. He's seen men cry. He's seen wives lie. He's seen partners steal millions. I've seen him destroy people on the witness stand without breaking a sweat. He stood there in my bathroom under the humming fan, and he watched. I watched him. His face, normally ruddy, went pale. Not just pale. It went a chalky, sick, grayish white. His jaw tightened. He held the iPad and his big solid hands started to shake. He watched Caroline hand over the bag. He watched Patrick inhale the powder. He watched my son slump. Then he listened. He listened to the whole conversation. He heard clueless old man. He heard irrevocable trust. He heard mentally incompetent. And when the video finished, he just stared at the black screen for a long, long time. He turned slowly and looked at me. His eyes were dark. "My God, Julian," he whispered. "My God. She's not just stealing from you. She's trying to bury you." "I know," I said. He looked at the door, then back at me. He was no longer a friend. He was a weapon. What do you want me to do?" I looked him straight in the eye. "I want you to burn them to the ground." Petrocelli's face was white. He just stared at the black screen, his knuckles white on the iPad. He looked at me, then at the locked bathroom door, then back at me. The humming of the fan was the only sound. "My God, Julian," he whispered. "My God. She's not just stealing from you. She's trying to bury you." "I know," I said. He didn't hesitate. He was no longer my golf buddy. He was a general. "All right," he said, his voice hard. "Here's what happens now. 1, we stop the bleeding. 2, we gather the rest of the intel. 3, we set the trap. And you get to be the bait." "What do I do?" "You get back in that goddamn bed," he said, his voice a low growl. "You are the sickest, most confused, most clueless old man they have ever seen. You are in pain. You are foggy. You do not let them know, not a flicker, not a glance. These people are desperate. Your wife is leveraging a drug addict. They are dangerous. Do you understand me? You do nothing until I tell you." I nodded. "They're planning it for next Friday. The power of attorney." "It won't matter," Petrocelli said, "because by the time they hand you that pen, there won't be anything left for them to take." He unlocked the fan. He unlocked the door. He put his arm around me, all friendly concern again. "Let's get you back to bed, Julian. You look like you're about to pass out." The walk back was a performance. I leaned on him, groaning. Caroline was standing in the kitchen doorway, her arms crossed, her eyes narrow. She was suspicious. "Is everything all right, Tony?" she asked, her voice tight. "You were in there a while." Petrocelli didn't miss a beat. He eased me onto the bed, his face a perfect mask of grim concern. He's just in a lot of pain, Caroline. To be honest, he's a little confused." My God, he was good. He was using their own words against them. He got a little emotional," Petrocelli continued, patting my shoulder. "We were just talking about the old days. I think the pills are really hitting him hard. I'm going to head out. Let him rest. He's not himself." "I know," Caroline said, her face instantly relaxing, the suspicion replaced by that fake, patronizing sympathy. "I've been telling him that. He gets these ideas. Thank you for coming by, Tony." "Of course," Petrocelli said. He walked to the door, then turned back and looked at me. It was a look that said, "Stay strong. Hold the line. Feel better, old friend. And he was gone. I lay there, my heart hammering. I was alone with them again. The monsters. Caroline was humming in the kitchen. Maya was laughing at something on her phone. They had no idea. The air was electric. I knew Petrocelli was walking to his car. I knew he was sitting in that big black Mercedes of his parked just down the street. My phone lying on the nightstand buzzed. I glanced at it. A text from Petrocelli. Call is happening now. Do not react. This was it. My whole body went rigid. I tried to breathe. I tried to look asleep. I could just picture him. Tony Petrocelli doesn't call a 1-800 number. He has the private cell phone number of Mark Jenkins, the president of the bank's entire state operation, the man he plays golf with every other Thursday. I could hear the conversation in my head. Mark, it's Tony Petrocelli. Tony, what's up? You playing this weekend? No, I'm calling about a client, a friend, Julian Bishop. I'm sitting in my car outside his house right now. He is the victim of a coordinated high-level fraud, and it's happening as we speak. I could imagine the silence on the other end of the line. What, Julian? He's a good man. He just moved $850,000. That's the one, Mark. And that money is gone. It was moved to an irrevocable trust set up by his wife and son while he was under anesthesia. They did it. It's done. But we're not calling about that money. We're calling about everything else. My God, Tony. I need a total hard freeze. Everything. His brokerage account, his checking, his savings, his safe deposit box. I want it all locked down effective 1 minute ago. Nothing moves. Nothing. Not a stock sale, not a transfer, not a withdrawal. Nothing. Do you understand me? Tony, I need Julian's authorization for that. I can't just... You have my authorization, Petrocelli would have snapped. I am his legal counsel. I am invoking emergency fiduciary power due to confirmed elder fraud and medical incapacitation. I have visual time-stamped proof of a conspiracy to defraud active coercion and the illegal distribution of a Schedule I controlled substance, all being used to facilitate this. A controlled substance. This isn't a family squabble, Mark. This is organized crime. His wife is the ringleader. His son is the accomplice. They are planning to drain his entire estate by next Friday by having him sign a power of attorney while he's on narcotics. I have video of it. So you have two choices. You can either freeze this account based on the sworn word of your lawyer, or you can be the bank manager who let a 70-year-old man's entire life savings get stolen on his watch. Your call. The silence in my living room was deafening. I'm doing it, I could hear Mark saying in my head. Locking it now. My God, Tony. Is Julian safe? He is for now, because they don't know we're on to them. And you are going to keep it that way. No calls, no emails, no alerts. If anyone calls, especially his wife Caroline or his son Patrick, the system is down for maintenance. You got me? Got it. It's done. The accounts are frozen. My phone buzzed again. A new text. The bleeding is stopped. They can't touch a dime. Your part is next. Be the sick old man. I'm moving to phase 2. I'll be in touch. I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding for an hour. The $850,000, that money was gone. I had to accept that. That was the price of my stupidity. But everything else, my company, my retirement, my house, it was safe. It was locked behind a wall of ice that they had no idea was there. Caroline walked back into the living room, a bright, fake smile on her face. She was holding a cup of tea. Tony seemed intense. Is everything really okay, dear? I looked up at her. This thing, this monster wearing my wife's face. I forced a weak, confused smile. He's just worried about me. He thinks I look terrible. He's a good friend. Yes, she said, patting my hand, her skin cold on mine. A very good friend. You just rest now. I closed my eyes. You have no idea, I thought. The game is on. I looked up at Caroline, at this stranger wearing my wife's face, this monster who was planning my ruin. I forced a weak, confused smile. He's just worried about me, honey, I mumbled, letting my voice trail off. He thinks I look terrible. He's a good friend. Yes, she said, patting my hand, her skin cold on mine. A very good friend. You just rest now. Don't you worry about a thing. I closed my eyes and she tiptoed away, satisfied that the clueless old man was back in his box, confused and harmless. I lay there, my heart hammering, replaying Tony Petrocelli's final words in my head. Back in the bathroom, under the roar of the fan, after his face had gone that sick gray color, he had grabbed my shoulders. His grip was like iron. Julian, he'd said, his voice a low, hard growl. You need to listen to me, and you need to listen close. You get one shot at this. You cannot, and I mean cannot, confront them. Not yet. But Tony, I had started to say, the rage still burning in my throat. No, you shut up, and you listen. He hissed, his eyes burning into mine. You are not dealing with a greedy wife. You are dealing with a desperate addict, and the woman who is supplying him. These people are not rational. They are volatile. They are dangerous. If they know, if they even suspect, that you are onto them, they will panic. And a panicking addict is capable of anything. Do you understand me? Your life is in danger in this house. I had just stared at him. The cold truth of his words hit me. He was right. So this is what you do. He'd continued, his voice dropping even lower. You get back in that goddamn bed. You are the sickest, most confused, most clueless old man they have ever seen. You are in pain. You are foggy. You are weak. You do not let them know. Not a flicker. Not a glance. You are their puppet. You are their ATM. You are their senile patient who hallucinates in the night. You let them think they are winning. And the power of attorney, I whispered. Friday. They're bringing it on Friday. A slow, cold, predatory smile had spread across Petrocelli's face. Good, he'd said. Perfect. Let them. Let them bring their little piece of paper. Let them walk right up to the finish line. Let them think their plan is working perfectly. Let them get comfortable. I had nodded, the cold resolve hardening in my chest, pushing out the pain. You play the part, Julian, he'd said, his hand still on my shoulder. You play the victim. You let them think they're winning, and I will take care of everything else. I opened my eyes. Caroline was in the kitchen, humming again. That goddamn humming. She thought she was in control. She thought she was just days away from victory. I closed my eyes again, and for the first time in a week, I almost smiled. The game was on. The next 48 hours. Saturday afternoon, all day Sunday. It was the hardest performance of my life. I was no longer Julian Bishop, retired construction boss. I was an actor. I was playing the role of the clueless old man, and I knew my life depended on it. Every groan was calculated. Every time I winced, supposedly from the pain in my hip, it was a lie. I was really wincing at the sight of them. The lies. The sheer, suffocating thickness of their lies. Caroline was the star performer. She was always Caroline on the spot. She'd come in, her face a mask of wifely concern, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. How are we feeling, dear? She'd ask, her hand cool on my forehead. Is the pain better? I brought you some warm tea. Her touch, it felt like a spider. I wanted to recoil. I wanted to grab her wrist and tell her I knew everything. Instead, I gave her the performance she wanted. I'd squint, pretending to be confused by the fog of the painkillers. Oh, Caroline, thank you. That's so nice. I'm just so tired. My head, it's so fuzzy. I know, dear, she'd say, patting my hand. That's just the medicine. You just rest. Don't you worry about a single thing. We're handling everything. Everything. The word hung in the air between us, heavy with a meaning only I understood. Maya. She was almost as good as Caroline. She didn't have the 45 years of practice, but she made up for it with sheer naked ambition. She'd float into the room, a bright plastic smile on her face, usually holding her phone. How are we feeling today, Julian? She'd chirp like I was a child. I was just looking at the listing for the new house again. Oh, you're going to love the garden. We're so excited. The house, I'd mumble, letting my voice tremble. That's wonderful, Maya. You're a good girl. Taking care of me. Of course we are, Julian, she'd say, leaning in, her eyes sharp and predatory even as her voice cooed. We're family. We just want you to get better. And don't you worry your head about that boring paperwork. We're handling everything, only 2 more days and just until Friday. And then it's all settled. You won't have to think about a thing. She said it like she was talking about Christmas. She was counting down the hours until she could rob me blind, and I was supposed to thank her for it. I just nodded, my eyes half closed. Friday. Oh, good. That's good. I'm just so tired of all this thinking. I know, she'd say, squeezing my arm. And you don't have to. We'll take care of all the thinking for you. I wanted to grab her by the throat. I wanted to show her the video and watch that plastic smile melt off her face. Instead, I just smiled back. A weak, tired, foolish smile. Thank you, Maya. You're a good daughter. And Patrick, my son, he was the weak link. I watched him. He wasn't shaking anymore. He wasn't pacing. The 2 a.m. medicine from his mother was clearly working. He was calm, relaxed. His eyes were heavy, but the desperation was gone. He was the perfect docile puppet. He mostly avoided me. He'd stay in the kitchen or in the den making important calls. But Caroline, she was the director of this sick play. She would make him interact. Patrick, honey, she'd call out. Go say hi to your father. Go on, see if he needs anything. He'd shuffle over, his gaze fixed on the floor, on the wall, on anything but my eyes. Hey, Dad, you okay? I put every ounce of effort I had into looking him straight in the face. I put on my best, disappointed but loving father expression. Patrick, my boy, I'm just tired. But I want you to know, I'm so proud of you. Taking care of this big house deal, that's a lot of responsibility. You're a good son. I saw him flinch. He actually flinched. The word proud, it was like I'd stabbed him. He couldn't take it. Yeah, Dad. Well, he mumbled, backing away. Just rest. I gotta go make a call. He practically ran out of the room. He was weak. Caroline and Maya, they were the sharks. He was just the blood in the water. Caroline watched him go, then turned back to me, her smile back in place. He's just so worried about you, Julian. We all are. It's a stressful time, but it's almost over. She leaned in, fluffing my pillows again, her cold hand brushing my cheek. Only 48 more hours, she whispered like it was a sweet secret. Just until Friday. Then we can all finally relax. I closed my eyes. Oh yes, I thought. Friday is coming. I kept the performance up all day Sunday. It was exhausting. Smiling when I wanted to spit, nodding when I wanted to yell. I was the weakest man in the world, and I had never been stronger. Caroline, my loving wife, announced she was going to church. Of course she was. She was going to go sing hymns, her hands clasped in prayer while planning to destroy her husband and poison her son. The hypocrisy was so thick I could barely breathe. "You'll be all right, dear?" she asked, adjusting her hat. I'll just sleep," I mumbled. She left. The house was quiet. Patrick was in the den, resting. Maya was in the kitchen on her laptop, probably shopping online with the money I already gave them. After about an hour, I heard footsteps. Maya's. She walked from the kitchen, and her footsteps didn't stop in the living room. They went straight to the den. She opened the door. She didn't bother to knock. I heard her voice. "Patrick?" I fumbled for the iPad under my blanket. My hands were sweating. I pulled it out, angled it so the screen's glow was hidden, and I turned on the feed. The camera blinked to life. And the show began. Maya was standing in the middle of the room, her arms crossed. She was no longer the sweet, caring daughter-in-law. Her face was twisted into a mask of pure, ugly contempt. Patrick was sitting on the edge of the bed, his head in his hands. He looked terrible. He hadn't had his medicine yet. He was starting to tremble. "When is she giving you the money, Patrick?" Maya snapped. Her voice wasn't a coo. It was a razor blade. What money?" he mumbled, not looking up. "The money, Patrick. The allowance. Our cut. She was supposed to give us $20,000 from the trust last week. For, living expenses. Where is it I have a credit card bill that's due?" Patrick shook his head. I don't know. She said we have to wait. She said, Friday. Just wait until Friday. It's all happening." Maya let out a sound that was half laugh, half snarl. "Oh, Friday. Of course, it's always Friday. I am so sick of this, Patrick. I am sick of this house. I am sick of her, and I am sick of playing nursemaid to that old man out there." She pointed right at me at the living room. "I am sick of smiling," she seethed, "and fluffing his pillows, and listening to him mumble about the good old days, and pretending I give a damn about his stupid hip. I am done. I want my money." "Shut up, Maya," Patrick said. His voice was weak, but it was angry. Just shut up. Mom knows what she's doing. She has the plan. Just follow the plan." "The plan?" Maya laughed a high, cruel sound. "Oh, I know she has a plan. And I know exactly how she's handling you, Patrick. I know all about her little plan for you." Patrick looked up, his eyes wide with panic. What are you talking about?" "You don't know what you're talking about." "Oh, please," Maya said, taking a step closer to him. "Don't. Just don't. I'm not stupid, Patrick. I'm not that clueless old fool in the living room. I know exactly what's going on." She leaned in, her voice dropping to a vicious whisper. "I know why you get sick. I know why you shake. And I know what she does. Every single night. To make it all go away, I know she's controlling you with that trash." My heart stopped. My God. Maya knew. She knew about the drugs. I watched, frozen. Patrick's face crumpled. He was exposed. You're an addict, Patrick," Maya continued, her voice clinical, cold. "And your own mother, your sweet church-going mother, is your dealer. It's disgusting. It's pathetic." You told her," Patrick whispered, his voice breaking. You're working with her. I'm not working with her," Maya snapped. "I'm managing her. Just like I'm managing you. I don't care what she does to you. I don't care what you put up your nose. You can be her little puppet all you want. You can let her destroy you. I don't care." She poked him in the chest, hard. You just endure it. You put up with her. You let her control you with that filth. Because on Friday, we get the papers signed. We get the money. We get all of it. The stocks, the bonds, this house. She straightened up, a look of pure, greedy triumph on her face. And I am personally, she said, her voice slow and deliberate, going to make sure, personally, that Julian Bishop does not have one single cent left to his name. Not one. He won't even be able to afford the pills for that hip of his. And then, she said, smiling, you and your mother can play your sick little games all you want. You can buy all the trash you need. And I will finally be free of this entire sick family. And I will be rich. She turned her hair whipping around and stormed out of the room, slamming the door behind her. I sat there, the iPad heavy in my lap. She knew. She knew about the drugs, and she didn't care. She wasn't a victim of Caroline's plot. She wasn't an innocent bystander. She was a partner. She was just as bad, if not worse. She was watching it happen, encouraging it, using it, all for the money. It wasn't just Caroline. It was all of them. A three-headed snake living in my house, coiling around my bed, just waiting to strike. And I was the only one who could cut off its head. I had the how. I had the what. But I still didn't have the why. Why would Caroline, my wife of 45 years, do this? It wasn't just the money. This was evil. To poison her own son, to keep him sick, to use him as a tool to destroy me. It was the action of a sociopath, a monster. And I had been sleeping next to this monster for nearly half a century. I couldn't just rest. I couldn't just wait for Petrocelli. I had to know. I had to know the reason. I kept the iPad under my blanket. I kept the app open. I spent all of Sunday after Maya's outburst just watching. I watched the empty room. I watched Patrick pace. I watched him sleep. I was a ghost haunting my own house, Sunday night. I was exhausted, but the rage was a fuel. My hip was a distant throbbing drum, but the betrayal was a siren in my ears. I waited. 1 a.m. Nothing. The house was silent. 2 a.m. Nothing. The door to the den didn't open. Caroline didn't come down. My heart hammered. Had they changed the plan? Did she suspect? Did Petrocelli's visit scare her off? No. I heard movement from the den. I heard a thud. Then a low, animal-like groan. He was in there, and he was sick. She was making him wait. She was letting the sickness take hold, letting the desperation build. She was turning the screw. 2:30 a.m., 2:45. The groan from the den was louder now. It was a horrible, guttural sound. He was in agony. And then at 2:51 a.m., creak. The upstairs bedroom door, my thumb shaking, tapped the screen. The feed came alive. Caroline slipped into the room. She was just a shadow. But Patrick, he wasn't pacing. He was on the floor. He was curled up in a ball at the foot of the bed, his body wrapped around a pillow, and he was convulsing. His whole body was spasming, his t-shirt dark with sweat. You, bitch! He gasped, his voice a strangled sob. He saw her shadow by the door. You're late. You said too. You did this. You did this on purpose. Caroline didn't move. She didn't rush to him. She just stood there, her arms crossed. I was busy, Patrick. I had to make sure he was asleep. He's always asleep, Patrick roared. It was a pathetic, broken sound. He tried to get up, but his legs wouldn't hold him. He fell back against the bed. He's half dead. You just wanted to watch me suffer. I wanted to be sure, she said, her voice like ice. Maya's little performance this afternoon, it made me nervous. She's getting sloppy. You're all getting sloppy. Sloppy, he shrieked. I'm dying here. My My skin. It's... I can't... Please, Mom. Please, just give it to me. He was crying. The ugly broken sobs of a man at the absolute end of his rope. In a minute, she said. When you calm down. Calm down, he screamed. You did this to me. You're the one. All for him, all for his money. He grabbed a water glass from the nightstand, and with a final burst of strength, he threw it. It shattered against the wall just inches from her head. Caroline didn't even flinch. Don't you ever do that again, she hissed. Or what? Patrick screamed. He was sobbing, hysterical. Or what, you'll cut me off. You'll let me die. I hate you, and I hate him. He was pointing at the wall, pointing at me in the living room. I have always hated him, he shrieked, his voice cracking. His stupid, smug face. Attaboy, Patrick. You're a good son, Patrick. He's not my father, is he? The world stopped. My breath. It stopped. My heart felt like it had been seized in a cold metal fist. What Patrick was on his knees, now looking up at her, his face a mess of tears and sweat. He's not, is he? I've always known I don't look anything like him. I wish I knew. I wish I knew my real father. This was it. The why. Carolyn's face, which had been a mask of cold control, it broke. She didn't get angry. She didn't deny it. She crumpled. Her hand went to her mouth, and a real racking sob, tore out of her. Don't you say that, she cried. She was crying. Real tears. Don't you ever say that. She wasn't faking. She wasn't acting. She was broken. Your real father, she choked out, her voice thick with a 40-year-old venom I had never, ever heard. Your real father was a bartender, a stupid, handsome child from a trip I took to Reno before I married Julian. A mistake. She was sobbing, pacing, forgetting all about the plan, forgetting everything. She was lost in the past. He left me, she whispered, her voice raw. He abandoned me. The second I told him I was pregnant, he vanished. He left me with nothing. No money, no future. Just you. I couldn't breathe. Reno. 41 years ago, before we were married. She said she had gone to visit her aunt. And Julian, she continued, her voice trembling with rage. Julian, he was just there. He was stable. He was boring. He was safe. He was so stupid and honorable. He never even questioned. He married me. He loved you. He raised you. He gave you everything. He gave you his name. And what did I get? She suddenly screamed, her voice rising to a terrible shriek. What did I get? I got 45 years of boredom, 45 years of being Mrs. Bishop, 45 years of pretending, of nothing, 45 years of watching him, your father, this boring, simple man, build an empire while I just waited. She was standing over Patrick now, her face twisted, tears streaming down her cheeks. He owes me, she screamed. He owes me. He owes me for every single boring dinner, for every night I had to pretend, for every single day I wasted being the perfect, loving wife. He owes us this money, this $850K. That's just the interest, Patrick. That's the down payment on the life he stole from me. She grabbed his face, her fingers digging into his cheeks. I am doing this for you, Patrick. So we can finally have the life I deserved. the life he could never give me. I, I just, I turned off the iPad. The screen went black. Patrick, my son, the boy I taught to ride a bike, the boy I took to his first baseball game, the man I was so proud of. He wasn't my son. He was the son of a bartender from Reno, my wife. She wasn't my wife. She was a stranger, a liar, a performer, a woman so filled with 45 years of silent creeping hatred that she would poison her own child to get what she felt she was owed. My marriage, my family, my life. It was a lie. It was all a lie. I lay there in the dark, the iPad heavy on my chest. The pain in my hip was gone. I felt nothing. Just a cold, empty, echoing void. I had been the clueless old man for 45 years. I had been played. I had been the biggest, blindest fool on God's green earth. I stared at the ceiling. The rage was gone. The grief was gone. All that was left was the ice. I had heard enough. I had seen enough. I had all the evidence I needed. Friday. Friday was coming, and I was ready. Friday morning. I had been awake all night, but I kept my eyes closed, my breathing slow and ragged. I was in pain. I was confused. I was their perfect, helpless victim. At 8 a.m. on the dot, I heard them. The performance began. I heard the clink of silverware, the happy hushed whispers from the kitchen. They weren't just hopeful. They were giddy. Today was their payday. Today, the clueless old man was going to sign away his life. "He's awake, I see him stirring." Maya's voice, a high-pitched, sugary chirp. I let my eyelids flutter open. I squinted as if the morning light was too bright, as if I was struggling to surface from a deep, drugged fog. And there they were, the unholy trinity. Caroline was in the lead holding my breakfast tray. She was beaming her face a perfect mask of wifely devotion. She looked radiant. It was disgusting. "Good morning, my love," she cooed, setting the tray down on my lap table. "We brought you a special breakfast. Scrambled eggs just how you like them, and some fresh orange juice. You need your strength today." Maya bounced in right behind her, her phone in her hand, probably already checking the balances on her credit cards. "Good morning, Julian," she sang like it was Christmas morning. "Today is the big day I'm so excited I could just burst." And then I saw Patrick. He shuffled in behind them, a ghost at the feast. He looked like hell. His eyes were bloodshot, the pupils tiny black dots. His skin was pale and slick with a cold sweat. I could see a fine, uncontrollable tremor in his right hand. He was desperate. He was in the grips of withdrawal. His mother was holding his leash tight, and he needed his medicine. But he was trying. He was trying to smile. "Hey, Dad," he mumbled, his gaze fixed on the floor. You feeling okay?" "Oh, he's just fine, aren't you, dear?" Caroline said, brushing his comment aside. She didn't look at Patrick. She didn't acknowledge his pain. He was just a tool, and his job was almost done. She reached over and plumped my pillows, her hands cool on my neck. I had to use every ounce of my willpower not to recoil, not to grab her by the wrist. "We have such wonderful news," she said, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial, excited whisper. "Mr. Evans, our lawyer, he just called. All the paperwork is ready for the house. It's all here. We just need your signature, and it's all finished." The house," I mumbled, letting my voice crack. I put on my best confused expression. "Oh, that's wonderful. I'm so glad." "We told you we'd handle everything," Maya chirped, leaning in. "You won't have to think about a single thing ever again. We'll take care of all the boring financial stuff from now on. You just get to rest and heal and be proud." "Proud," I whispered. I looked at Patrick. "Yes, proud." He flinched. He looked away, his jaw tightening. He needed this to be over. He needed his fix. "All right," Caroline said, her voice all business disguised as efficiency. She pulled a neat blue folder from under the breakfast tray. "Here we are. It's nothing really, just the final bank forms." She opened the folder and spread the papers on top of my blanket. And there it was. The weapon. The key. "This," she said, tapping the top page, "is just the... what did he call it? The power of attorney form. It's just a standard authorization. It just gives Patrick the legal power to sign the closing documents for you, so you don't have to drag yourself all the way down to the bank. Isn't that thoughtful?" She clicked a pen, a simple blue ballpoint pen. She held it out to me. This was the moment, the culmination of 45 years of lies. The bartender from Reno, the stolen $850,000, the drugs, the clueless old man. It all came down to this. Me in this bed and that pen. They were all watching me. Caroline with her bright reptilian smile. Maya vibrating with so much greed I could almost smell it. And Patrick, my non-son, just staring at the pen, his body shaking, praying I would take it so his suffering could end. I looked at the paper. I looked at the pen. I looked at her. The monster. She was smiling, encouraging me. I let out a long, slow, pain-filled sigh. "Oh, honey," I mumbled, letting my hand tremble as I reached for the pen. I'm just so tired. My head is so foggy." "I know, dear," she whispered, her voice like poison. "I know. Just one little signature. Right here. Just sign your name. And then it's all over. You can go right back to sleep." Oh yes, I thought, as my fingers closed around the pen. It's all about to be over. My fingers closed around the blue plastic pen. It felt cheap in my hand. This cheap little thing. This was the weapon they thought would end me. I held it, my hand hovering just inches above the paper. The signature line. Julian Bishop. I could feel their eyes on me. All three of them. They weren't breathing. The silence in the room was so thick, I could feel it pressing on my skin. Caroline's smile was stretched tight like a rubber band pulled to its breaking point. She was vibrating with anticipation. Maya was leaning in her eyes not on me, but on the tip of that pen. She was practically drooling with greed. And Patrick, poor stupid Patrick, he just looked like he was going to be sick. His whole body was shaking, in that fine, desperate way I now understood. He was staring at the pen like it was his last hope on earth. He needed this to be over. He needed his fix. "Sign it!" Their silence screamed. "Sign it, you old fool, and give us everything." I looked at the signature line. Julian Bishop. My name. The name they were trying to steal. I looked up. I looked right past Patrick, right past Maya. I looked right into Caroline's cold, triumphant eyes. And I smiled. It wasn't the weak, drugged, confused smile I had been practicing for 3 days. This was a real smile. This was my smile. The one I used on a construction site right before I told a crooked contractor he was fired. It was cold. It was sharp. And it was all teeth. I saw Caroline's smile flicker. The bright fake sunshine in her eyes dimmed. It was replaced by a tiny flickering spark of confusion. "Julian," she said, her voice a little tighter. Her smile was still there, but it was frozen. "Dear, is something wrong? Just sign the paper. You're tired." "Oh, I'm going to sign," I said. My voice was different. It wasn't the weak, mumbled, confused voice she was used to. It wasn't slurred. It wasn't foggy. It was my voice. The voice I used on a job site to be heard over a buzzsaw. The voice that had commanded a room for 45 years. It was clear. It was cold. And it was loud. Caroline flinched. Maya's head snapped up, her eyes wide. Patrick actually took a step back. I'm going to sign, I said again. But first, you've all been so entertaining this last week. You've worked so hard. I put the pen down nice and slow right next to the signature line. With my other hand, I moved the breakfast tray off my lap and onto the side table. I ignored Caroline's little gasp as the orange juice sloshed onto her precious blue folder. Julian, what are you doing? She snapped. The sweetness was gone. Her voice was a razor. Maya had her hands on her hips, her plastic smile replaced by an ugly sneer of impatience. Julian, just sign the papers. Stop playing these stupid games. Games, I said, and I laughed. It was a short, sharp, ugly sound, and it echoed in the silent room. Oh, we're definitely playing a game, Maya, and you've all played your parts so well. Caroline, the devoted wife, Patrick, the loving, worried son, and you, Maya, the sweet, caring daughter-in-law. It's a hell of a performance. Bravo. It almost deserves an award. I let my hand the one they thought was too weak to hold a fork slide under my blanket. I felt their eyes follow my hand. The confusion was turning into something else. A tight, electric fear. What is he doing? Maya whispered to Patrick. Dad, Patrick said, his voice cracking. What? What's going on? Just sign it, Dad. Please, just sign it. My hand came back out, and in it was the iPad. The screen was black. It was a dark mirror reflecting their three horrified, confused faces. What is that? Caroline asked. Her voice was no longer a coo. It was a hiss. Julian, what is this? Put that away. Sign the papers. In a minute, honey, I said. I've been taking up a new hobby, filmmaking. I've been working on a little documentary about a family, about a loving wife, and a devoted son, and a very, very sick old man. I looked right at Patrick. You're the star son. Patrick went white. Not just pale. He went the color of ash. He looked like he was going to throw up right there on the floor. I don't, he stammered. Maya's face was a picture. The greed, the excitement, it shattered. Replaced by a cold, dawning, ugly realization. What did you say? She whispered. Her eyes darted from me to Patrick. And then I saw it. I saw the moment she understood. Her eyes darted toward the den, toward their room, toward the wall where the TV was, toward the little black cube plugged into the power strip. I saw the blood drain from her face. What movie, Julian? Caroline demanded. Her voice was trembling. The mask was gone. This was the real Caroline, the cornered rat. What is on that thing? I looked at her. I looked at all of them, the three people who had tried to bury me. I smiled that same cold, sharp smile. I'm calling it the 2 a.m. meeting. I let the title hang in the air. Or, maybe, How to Poison Your Son and Steal from a Clueless Old Man. I'm still workshopping the title. I rested my thumb on the power button. I thought we could watch the premiere together, as a family. Patrick's face was a mask of pure ashen terror. He was shaking his head. No, Dad, don't. Please, don't. Maya just stared at the black screen, her face frozen. Julian, this isn't funny, she hissed. What is this? Stop this. Stop it now. And Caroline. Oh, Caroline. She was trembling with rage. Julian, you are sick, she spat. You are confused. Give me that. Give me that iPad right now. She lunged for it, but my hand was faster. I held it up just out of her reach. I said, wagging my finger. You're going to want to see this. It's the opening scene. My favorite part. It really sets the tone for the whole picture. And with my thumb, my steady 70-year-old thumb, I pressed play. The screen lit up. The speakers on the iPad, cheap as they were suddenly loud in the silent room. The grainy green-black image of the den flickered to life. And with it, the sound. The sound of a man sobbing. The sound of Patrick on his hands and knees begging. Please, Mom, please, I need it. It's bad. I can't stand it, please. The room, it stopped. Time stopped. Maya's mouth, it just fell open. Her eyes, wide with greed just a second ago, were now wide with pure, unadulterated horror. She wasn't just shocked. She was implicated. She wasn't just watching a con. She was watching a crime. A crime she was part of. Patrick let out a sound. A high-pitched, strangled gasp. He staggered backward, slamming into the wall, his hands flying up to cover his own face. He was staring at the screen, at himself, at his own pathetic, broken image groveling on the floor. He was watching his own damnation. And Caroline. Her eyes were glued to the screen. She watched her own shadow, her own ghostly green image pull the little plastic baggie out of her nightgown. You know what you have to do to keep getting this, don't you? Her own voice, cold and reptilian, filled the living room. Friday, the papers, the old man. I saw her face. The mask didn't just crack, it disintegrated. The tray in her hands, the one with the fresh orange juice and the special breakfast, it tilted. And then it fell. It was the loudest sound I had ever heard, a deafening crash of ceramic glass and silver. Scrambled eggs and orange juice and hot coffee exploded across the hardwood floor. The blue folder with the power of attorney papers was splattered the ink on the signature line already starting to run. But Caroline didn't notice. She wasn't looking at the mess. She was just staring at me. Her face was white. Her mouth was opening and closing, but no sounds were coming out. She looked like a fish gasping for air on a dry dock. Julian, she finally whispered. Her voice was a dry rattle. Julian, you spied on me. Spied, I said. I was calm. My voice was even. No, Caroline. I didn't spy. I watched. I learned. I let the video keep playing. I let them all watch. I made them watch as Patrick snatched the bag. I made them watch as he huddled in the chair. I made them watch as he snorted the poison his own mother had delivered. Maya made a gagging sound. She actually put her hand over her mouth. Oh my God, she whispered. Oh my God, Patrick. You're a junkie. Patrick just slid down the wall, his hands over his head, sobbing. Stop it. Stop it. Turn it off. Turn it off. Why? I asked, my voice genuinely curious. It's the best part. It's the climax. Watch. This is where the star, my son, he gets his reward. We all watched as the on-screen Patrick went still as the drugs hit his system, as that stupid heavy-lidded smile spread across his face. Julian, Caroline stammered. She was shaking all over. She wasn't a monster now. She was just a pathetic, terrified woman. She was a cornered animal. Julian, I can explain. It's not what it looks like. He's sick. I was helping him. I was weaning him off, yes. That's it, I was helping him. It's medicine. Medicine, I said. I looked at her, and for the first time in 45 years I saw her. Not the wife, not the mother. I saw the liar, the monster, the bartender's mistake from Reno. You call that medicine, Caroline? I hit the pause button, freezing the frame on Patrick's drugged, smiling face. I call it leverage. Leverage, I repeated. The word hung in the air heavy and cold over the smell of spilled coffee and Caroline's suddenly cheap perfume. Patrick was still a heap on the floor, sobbing into his hands. Turn it off! Turn it off! Turn it off! Maya, to her credit, was a fighter. She recovered first. Her face was pale, but her eyes were burning. You bastard! She spat at me. You filmed him. That's illegal. That's entrapment. We'll sue you. We'll sue me, I asked, and I laughed. Oh, Maya, we're so far past suing. He's right, Maya, Caroline stammered. She was trying to regain control, trying to find her footing. She was grabbing at straws. Julian, this is a sickness. It's a family matter. It's private. You can't show this to anyone. This would destroy him. It would destroy us. What do you want, Julian? Money? You already gave us the money. Just delete it. Delete it and we can fix this. We can get him help. Help, I said. You call that help, Caroline? I looked down at the iPad. You're right. That was just the opening scene. You haven't even seen the plot yet. I call this next part the business meeting. I tapped the screen, and there they were again. The same two shadows. Caroline sitting. Patrick slumped in the chair, his high just wearing off. And then their voices filled the room. Clearer this time. Maya's getting nervous. She says the old man has to sign the papers on Friday. I saw Maya's head snap toward Patrick. A look of pure, venomous betrayal. You told her Shh, I said, holding up a finger. The best part's coming. We all listened. We listened to Caroline's cold, clear voice explain the real plan. The $850K is bait, Patrick. It's the start. It's not the prize. The prize is everything else. I watched Maya's face. The betrayal was gone. She was just listening. She was impressed. And then Caroline's voice on the video, my wife's voice, said the magic words. He's a clueless old man. That's me, I said, pointing to my chest. I gave them a little wave. The star, the clueless old man. We kept listening. By the time he's clear-headed enough to notice anything, I will have every single penny. And if he does make a fuss, if he tries to fight it, who is a court going to believe a patient on high-dose opioids or his loving, devoted wife? The video ended. Silence. The only sound in the room was Patrick still sobbing. Caroline just stared at me. The color had drained from her face. She wasn't just pale. She was gray. The mask was gone. The monster was fully exposed. You, she stammered. Yes, I said. Me. The clueless old man. I looked at Maya. And by the way, just so you know, that $850,000, the bait, that was moved during my surgery while I was unconscious. The rest of my accounts, my brokerage, this house, they were all frozen by my lawyer Tony Petrocelli 48 hours ago. There's nothing left to take. The well is dry. You won't get a single dime. Maya's face. It imploded. The greed, the shock, the hate, it all just collapsed into a mask of pure, ugly defeat. She knew it was over. But Caroline was different. She wasn't defeated. She was enraged. You You bastard! She screamed. It wasn't a word. It was a shriek like a predator whose kill had been stolen. You! You tricked me, you! You were pretending, you were spying, you. You set me up. Me. I said, my voice dangerously calm. I set you up. Caroline, you have been poisoning your own son. You have been lying to me for God knows how long. You planned to steal everything I have ever worked for. You planned to have me declared insane. And I'm the one who tricked you. You don't understand, she wailed. She was in full-blown hysterics now, pacing back and forth, ripping at her own hair. You deserved it. You owed it to me. He. She pointed a shaking finger at Patrick, who was still a sobbing heap on the floor. He's all I have, she screamed. And I even know why I said. My voice was a whisper, but it cut through her screams like a knife. She froze. I know all of it, Caroline, I said, my voice hardening. I kept recording. I saw the director's cut. Her eyes went wide. She looked confused. I heard everything, I said, my voice cold as the grave. I heard all about Reno. I heard all about the bartender. Caroline, she stopped. She stopped screaming. She stopped moving. She just froze. I saw the last bit of color drain from her face. I saw the terror in her eyes. This was the one thing. This was the one secret. The real one. The one she thought was buried for 40 years. I know, I said, my voice flat, that Patrick is not my son. This was the moment. This was the one that broke her. She didn't just get angry. She exploded. The last 45 years of lies and hatred and resentment it all came boiling out of her. Yes, she screamed, her voice cracking her face a grotesque mask of rage and tears. Yes, you're damn right. He's not yours. Thank God, he's not yours. She was pacing, a wild animal trapped. He's mine. He's the one thing I had that you didn't. You boring, pathetic, old man. She was spitting the words at me. I wasted my life on you, she shrieked, tears streaming down her face. 45 years of this house, this boring, honorable life. I hated you. I hated every second of it. She pointed at Patrick. His real father. He was alive. He was fun. He left me. He abandoned me, and I was stuck with you. The safe, boring, stupid man who would just take me, who would raise another man's child and be proud of it. He owes me, she screamed again, pointing at me. You owe me. You owe me for lying to you. You owe me for staying. You owe me for my life. This money, it's nothing. It's just the interest. She laughed, a horrible, sobbing, broken sound. And him, she spat, pointing at Patrick. Yes, I gave him the drugs, I did, because at least it made him need me. At least it made him different from you. I'd rather see him a junkie than see him turn into you. And there it was. The whole rotten, ugly truth. All of it. The room was silent except for her panting, gasping breaths and Patrick's low, horrified moans. Maya, she was just pressed against the wall, her eyes wide like she was watching a bomb detonate. I just looked at Caroline. This stranger. This creature. I took a long, slow breath. Well, I said, my voice calm. Thank you for that, Caroline. You've just confirmed everything. She just stood there panting, her chest heaving, her face a grotesque mask of tears and 45 years of pent-up hate. The room was dead silent. Even Patrick had stopped sobbing, his head up, just staring at the monster that was his mother. Maya was pressed against the wall like she wanted to phase right through the drywall, her eyes wide with terror. I took a long, slow, calm breath. I looked right at Caroline. "Well," I said. My voice was quiet, but it cut through the silence like a scalpel. "Thank you for that, Caroline. Thank you for confirming all of that. You've just made this next part so much easier." "What? What next part?" she hissed, her eyes narrowing, the rage still trembling in her. "What are you going to do, call the cops? You wouldn't dare bring this shame on your own." She didn't get to finish the word family, because right at that exact second, the doorbell rang. Ding dong. It wasn't a friendly ring. It was a hard, impatient official sound. It echoed through the house like a gunshot. All three of them, Caroline, Maya, and Patrick, they just froze. Their heads snapped toward the front door, their faces identical masks of pure, sudden panic. Who is that?" Maya whispered, her voice trembling. "We aren't expecting anyone." "Oh," I said. I glanced toward the door. I think that might be for you." Ding dong. Louder this time. More insistent. "Patrick," I said, my voice calm. Go get the door. Be a good host." Patrick looked at his mother. She was paralyzed, her face ashen. He looked at me. He was trapped. He stumbled to his feet, his body still shaking, and he walked to the front door like a man walking to the gallows. He fumbled with the lock. He pulled the door open. 2 police officers were standing on the mat. Big men in full uniform, their hands resting near their belts. They weren't here to sell cookies. "Sir, ma'am," the first officer said, looking past Patrick at the scene. At the shattered glass, the spilled food, at Caroline crying hysterically, at Maya pressed against the wall, and at me in the hospital bed. "We received a call, a very detailed call, from a Mr. Petrocelli, about a potential elder fraud situation and the distribution of narcotics." Caroline she just made a sound, a low, dying wail. "Petrocelli?" I held up the iPad. My hand was steady as a rock. "Officers," I said, and my voice was clear and strong. "Please come in. I'm Julian Bishop, and I believe this is what you're looking for." I held the iPad up, the screen still glowing. "I have video evidence, hours of it, of a conspiracy to defraud me of my entire estate, and a full confession." I pointed my finger steady right at the woman I had been married to for 45 years. And that woman, Caroline Bishop, she just confessed. She confessed to everything. She is the one who has been supplying her son with illegal narcotics. She's the dealer. She told me herself. It's all right here on the video. The healing. That was the hard part. The hip was easy. Bones knit. Steel and titanium, they hold. The physical therapist pushed me and I pushed back. I was really walking in 6 weeks. But the other part, the healing of the mind, that took longer. Petrocelli, my lawyer, my friend, he handled everything. Caroline and Maya, they tried to fight. They tried to say the videos were illegal. They tried to say I was incompetent, but that full screaming confession, the one where Caroline admitted everything, that wasn't illegal, that was just the truth. It was a slam dunk. Caroline was charged with distribution of a controlled substance, a serious felony, and conspiracy to defraud. Patrick, as a cooperating witness against his mother, got a lesser charge, possession conspiracy. Maya was charged as an accomplice. They're all gone. Prison, rehab, lawyers. It's just noise now. It's over. The house. I sold it. I couldn't be in that living room. I couldn't walk up those stairs. It wasn't a home. It was a stage. A stage for a 45-year lie. I told the realtor to sell it. Fast. I didn't even care about the price. And the money. The $850,000. The bait. Petrocelli, the bulldog that he is, he managed to claw it back. He froze the trust. He proved it was all founded on fraud, on coercion. It all came back to me. I had my money. I had my health. I was 70 years old, and I was completely alone. I could have bought a new house, a condo in Florida. I could have gone anywhere, but I didn't. I took that $850,000, the money that was supposed to be the seed of my destruction, and I gave it away. I started the Julian Bishop Foundation. It's a small place, a nonprofit. It's for parents of adult addicts, parents who are lost, parents who want to save their children, not use them, not destroy them. We provide resources. We provide support. We fund rehab beds for the kids who can't afford it. We hire lawyers to help parents get conservatorships, not to steal from their kids, but to save them. My whole life, I thought my legacy was my company. I thought it was my son. I was wrong. My legacy, it's this, and it's the phone call I took yesterday from a mother in Ohio who got her son into a clinic. It's the letter from a father in Texas who finally understood he wasn't alone. My name is Julian Bishop. I'm 70 years old. My wife is in prison. The man I thought was my son, I don't know where he is. And for the first time in my entire life, I feel like I'm truly alive. If you are watching this, if you have ever felt trapped or small or underestimated in your own home, I want you to know this. Setting boundaries doesn't make you cruel. It makes you wise. Saying no doesn't make you unloving. It makes you healthy. And forcing the people you love to face the consequences of their actions is not revenge. It is the hardest, most painful, and most honest form of love there is. I learned that the hard way, so you don't have to. Thank you for listening to my story. If it resonated with you, if you have ever had to stand up for yourself against the people who were supposed to protect you, please let me know in the comments below. Hit that like button and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss another story. Tell me, what would you have done in my place, and where in the world are you watching from? Your support means everything. I read every comment. Thank you.